Maria, if you pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll start with our roll call. And let it be known that all three commissioners are present, and Heidi Workman, our chief examiner, is present as well. We don't have any old business, so we'll go through that. New business is we need to approve the minutes from January 11 that we received. Any discussion on those?
Do we have a minute?
Yes.
Okay.
Would you like to look at them?
Can we ask Heidi real quick, for the minutes, there's a section online where it shows today's meeting and it has the download button for today's agenda, and next to it, it says minutes, but there's no hyperlink. So there's no,
Correct.
is that going to ever be on there or?
So once Chief and Joe, everything is a month behind for our minutes.
So they will
So
get.
those minutes that will be approved, the January 11th minutes,
Mhm.
those will be uploaded.
Okay, so no one can see them until they're approved,
Until
which
they're
I
approved.
knew that.
Correct.
I guess because I looked at last month's meeting and there isn't any
Right,
there too.
because we
and so
haven't approved
That's why
them.
I was just
Yep.
like, huh,
Yeah,
okay.
so
That makes
I
sense.
asked Kelsey, so we have to wait for them to get approved, and then when I can get Chief to sign them, and then I'll upload
Then
them,
okay.
which will be sometime late next week.
Awesome. I just was like, let me just ask, since we're on this topic, makes sense that
Good
no one
idea.
can see them from the public until they're approved, but I don't know. I guess it was deceiving because the download button was right next to where it says minutes. And so I was showing Joy, I said, no, look, I downloaded it, but it's the agenda, even though it's
Mhm.
right next to the thing that says that. But
Right.
thank you. Thank you so much for that.
Problem.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from our January 11th meeting.
Moved by Commissioner Webster and second by Commissioner Hatcher. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Next is item B, report on the February 6th presentation to City Council. I had a very good, basically monologue with the City Council. I gave them the idea of, we spent a lot of time getting organized last year. We didn't have our first official meeting until December. I told them about the 3-day seminar that was put on by Foster Garvey. And that's something we will probably do every year. We talked about that we elected chair. We set our time and place for meetings, and I explained to them that when that was, and that Heidi had agreed to become our chief examiner. And then we began the search for an attorney, and our budget was $10,000 for the year. And then we talked about we approved the hiring list for the new hires. There were 6 on the list, if you recall. 3 were interviewed and they hired 2. And we had approved that list. And currently we're in the process of revising the rules and regulations. We ended up with 2 different sets, and I need to get you guys copies of the second set that came out in 2017, and I have not done that, and I apologize for that. But I need to do that, and I will get that to you. And then we did find an attorney. I spoke with Michelle Fossum last Friday. And then, as you saw, she sent us her resume, and she has had a lot of employment experience. As you could tell, she has done some service work, but it was quite a while ago. And she said some of the laws may have changed, but she's willing to learn and she's willing to put the time in. I got her name from a close friend who is a retired attorney. His name is Dan Danforth. They worked together at Lukens and Annis back in the 90s and early 2000s. And he highly recommended her for her work ethic and her willingness to learn. So that is where we are with that. She is willing to come in and interview with us. I told her it would probably be next month, unless you have some questions about her resume or comments.
With your guys' conversation, you said that she has worked with civil service, but it was a long time ago. With looking at her resume, she hasn't left the area. So do we know what jurisdiction she has that experience with?
We
'Cause it
don't,
doesn't show in here.
yeah, you'll notice she says special, what does she call it? I can't remember. There's, I'm trying to remember what she called it. Special purpose district representation. That's civil service. That's
Where,
what she was calling.
Okay, where is,
It's in the,
which date range?
when she was Michelle K. Wokley. PS on the second page, top of the second page. I developed an
Okay.
emphasis in special purpose district representation,
Oh, okay.
being selected as general counsel for Spokane Regional Health and Spokane Regional Clean Air Agency.
Cool.
And that was when she got her civil service experience. So I would like to bring her in next month at our meeting and have a conversation with her, think about interview questions you might want to ask. And I know she's more than willing to come in and do that. So.
Great.
Any questions or comments on that? Okay,
Would you just like us to email you any of the interview questions you'd like, or do you want us to prepare our own and we'll all ask certain ones? Or do you want to funnel to you and you can weed stuff out and just decide, and then you are gonna be the one that's asking them, or?
now, as far as I'm concerned, the three of us are equal. I mean, I just run the meetings, basically, so I don't have a real problem with you developing your own list of questions. I don't need to see them in advance. I think that's, the three of us, the four of us, have got to really trust one another anyway, and I don't have a problem with that one way or the other.
I'll just need copies of the notes and the questions to keep as part of the record.
For after the interview. is over.
Yeah,
Great.
that's a good idea. Okay. Any other comments on that?
No, thanks for putting that time in.
Okay.
For
Well, and I
making that
explained to her
connection.
that we may be needing her 10 to 20 hours a year. If that.
We just have
And
no
she said that
idea.
was fine.
Yeah.
And she,
As long as
Sure.
they know it's not a steady income.
yeah, she will charge us on an hourly basis and invoices. I assume that would come to HR. Heidi, is that correct?
It would go
Directly?
probably to
To
accounts
finance.
payable.
Okay, accounts payable. Okay. We'll deal with that once we make that decision and decide to hire. Do we need to develop a contract for that?
Yes,
Or
Well,
would the city have
we-
one already?
probably not.
Wishful thinking.
But that's probably a good question for Kyle as the finance director to
Okay.
follow up with. If there, I mean, really, it would be I would say she might already have a contract that she would give us, and then we would check with Kyle if we would need to run that through council
that
for
makes-
approval
Mm.
on the cost of the contract.
Would that be something that the city's lawyer would also want to look over before anything is signed?
That would also
I
probably.
mean, the hard
be-
thing is,
Usually,
Our
usually.
lawyer can't look at it because we don't have one to do it, you know? what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
so usually we put it, whatever if it has to go through council, then Sean would scan it as
Okay.
well.
Okay, I didn't know if it'd be like, hey, this doesn't jive, like you
Yeah.
guys can't do that. And yet we would have been like, okay, yeah, like. oh,
Right.
great.
Kyle would know for sure, and then,
I'll call Kyle.
I can, if that's the case, then I would just make sure it got on the
Okay.
city council agenda.
And I forgot to mention, I spoke to Sean Boats, who is the counsel for this city council, the attorney for the city council. He knows of her. He doesn't know her personally, but he said, I've never heard anything bad about her, ever.
Which is interesting. I didn't even think of that, to where if they did know each other, if that would be considered a conflict of interest or not. Because if we have a hearing, right, that you always have to look back to if there's disciplinary hearing and you have both lawyers that are representing two different sides, would that, I mean, the whole reason why civil service is here is to watch out for conflict of interest, right? And so if those lawyers knew each other, you said they don't, but if they did, that would be interesting to have to look into
Well,
because,
it's interesting. It doesn't, I don't think it really matters because I've seen
Yeah.
husband and wives representing, attorneys that were married to each other representing the opposite sides of an argument. So
I'd
I
like to
don't
say
think that would
their
be-
license is on the line
Yeah.
of if they got.
If they were in the
caught,
same,
they're in
if they
trouble.
worked for the same firm, now you've got a conflict of interest.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the guild would have their own representation, so it probably wouldn't even be Sean involved.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, exactly. Okay. So that leads us to public.
While we're still on that, when we were talking about finances, did she upfront say this is how much I charge an hour? Or
We
would
didn't
we
get to
come to her? Okay, to where we're not far enough on.
Yeah, I didn't get into that until the three of us agreed that we should offer her
Okay.
a position.
So I'm like, if she's $250 over what the norm is, now do we say she's great, but we can't afford her? So like, did we ask early on so that that could be something that gets weeded out? Or if, I didn't know how you were gonna go about that, but.
Yeah. We'll figure that out.
Okay.
I didn't want to bring that up front. until
Yeah,
we
I know.
made
No one
that
wants to talk
decision.
about money.
Agreed. So-
Could we, sorry, could we go back to the interview questions? I think it would be best if you guys sent me the interview questions. Then I could put them into like a form, like a format that that have been compiled. And then we can write our notes to her answers and then, well, probably not we, because I'll be taking regular notes on things, but put our that way all the notes are together, and then should we elect to say, let's hold off, let's talk to another person, we're consistent in making sure we're asking the exact
Same
same
questions.
questions.
Yeah, that's an interesting point because the
Well,
three of
if
us all
what-
got asked the exact
Should we
same
give our
questions.
interview questions to him?
Right.
Could it
There
be
were 8
one
questions,
document?
so-
Yeah,
But-
and I can compile it. I do it obviously for
Yeah,
regular.
okay,
Cool.
that makes a lot of sense. Okay, we'll do that. Okay, public comments. Do we have any public comments? No? Nobody's online. So I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Moved and seconded by, moved by Commissioner Webster, seconded by Commissioner Hatcher. God, I'm drawing blanks today. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We're done.